Welcome, everyone. My name is Daryl Lindenbach, and I'm one of the co-founders of Music and Play. So, welcome to our first podcast, our first video podcast. So, if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on a device, welcome. We're all here to learn together, and it's going to kind of go like that. Why are we here? We're here because music makes everything better. That's kind of our theme here. So this is going to become a weekly production of Music and Play, where we sit down with people around a piano or a table or in a garden or in a snowbank, who knows. And we talk about music. You aren't going to find us out in the mountains at a piano with a lush background playing a sonata. That's not what this is about, and that's really not what normal music is about or normal music education is about. This is going to be about straight talk, about music education. This is about how we and our guests, whenever we have them, see it. And most importantly, it's how we can make music and education better for the students. There'll be information. There will likely be differences of opinion, because we're human. And it's art, but it's our hope that we make progress. Music education, by some, is joked about as being the world's second oldest profession. For some, it's still run out of their homes like that. Yes, that is a joke. You can laugh. Anybody want to name the first oldest profession?
No,
there we go.
I'm good.
So, as you see, we are going to be shy about tackling stuff because, like everything else in the world, it's all evolved. And for many, when you talk about music education, and especially around this table, this piano, for us, over the past while, we've sat down and kind of looked at it, and it's like some of it hasn't. So how do we do that? How can we help push music forward? So we're starting out today in a video podcast format. Will that change? Will we use different locations? Likely. Will we find ways to do things better? Likely. Because we learn as we go. And that's part of being a lifelong learner. So welcome to the first episode of Music Makes Everything Better. This week we have Colleen Lindenbach, who's the founder and co-owner of Music and Play. We have Kelsey Noble, who is one of Music and Play's program coordinators, and also Harold Squire, who's another program coordinator and admin here. So we wondered, how do we start this off? How do we? What's a good place to start? Music. It's a big topic. So we're going to start at the beginning, and
It's a very good place to start.
It is a very good place to start, and you're going to be a good place to start too. So why teach music when there's so many other things out there that are so much easier and give people so much more immediate gratification? Why music?
I've been teaching music for, 40 plus years.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. I'm old. My first students growing up have grandkids. Possibly, I don't know. But it's not something you choose to do in some ways. It's just something you are. I'm a firm believer that educators are not created. They are born to a certain extent. It is a personality that leads you, the nurturing. Not everyone's wired to be an educator. And when it comes to music education, it's like a select of a select. Not because you teach because you can't perform, which is commonly thought, that, you're not good enough to be a performer. You should go into teaching.
No. Just straight up no.
But another valuable joke: performing being the world's third oldest profession.
It goes first.
Yeah, it does. Different type.
But it's the idea that giving the ability to perform and to make music to someone else, to helping them find maybe what you had well trained, or maybe you didn't have good training, and you stumbled. I talked to a parent this week who's talking about they're looking at investing in a piano, and he talked about being a child. He always wanted to play piano. His parents couldn't afford it. He did everything he could, and now he is able to give that to his kids. And so I think the piano's for him, not for his kids. They'll use it, that's great.
Yeah.
But that ability to take someone who is so wired to be artistic and to perform and to give music to the world, and that doesn't mean you have to be on a big stage. It means you're giving it to your family. It means you're giving it to yourself.
Yeah.
It's something that changes your life. It's a language. You can talk. You can say things in music so much more easily than you can say it.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
just play it.
Yeah.
And that's why I always have issues with oh, I can play all these scales. I've got my whatever exam. Yeah, I just heard you play. You sound like a trained monkey. There's no soul there. And that's what music is. And that's why we do this. That's why I do this. Is because when you see, whether it's a child, the babies in our baby classes, or an older kid, or an adult who's finally being able to take lessons when they've never been able to do it before, and the day things click, and it doesn't always. I mean, those plateaus can last an awful long time, years sometimes. But when
Lifetimes.
it clicks, and it's just like that moment of like, wow. And when you yourself are performing, and there's a feeling that is, I mean, compare it to Runner's High, compare it to whatever you want, it's way better than all of them. It's just like you're soaring. It's as close to heaven as you can get here.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do it, is why I can't not do it, I guess.
What about you? I know you didn't start from piano. This is
Yeah.
we touched on piano. You come at this from a different place. So
Yeah, I mean, I teach sort of similar. I feel like I've always worked with kids or people in some way. Teaching's always sort of been part of my life. I've always loved mentoring, and then when I found music, because I started on piano, didn't like it, practicing was not good, and then I found the flute, and I did it to kind of punish my parents because they made me pick a musical instrument.
all
And-
parents out there that are watching this, the flute is still an excellent
Flute's
instrument.
great, yeah. It didn't quite work. It kind of backfired. My plan backfired on me because I love the flute so much. But it's giving that gift of expression and being able to pass that on to other people, or to allow them to have music in whatever role they see it in their life, enabling that and allowing them to pursue it that way. That's really why I do it. There's other, like, a lot of reasons. The joy of seeing somebody accomplish things, like learning the skills, and I really truly think that music has the ability to make people better, just because of the way we have to listen, the way we have to work together to make music, all of those sorts of things. I really truly believe it's a step towards making a better world. So I guess gift, yeah. World, making the world a better place.
Just little things.
Just little tiny
little
things.
tiny
But it
things.
is, I think it's one step towards it. So that's why I do it.
Okay, if everyone can hold hands now, we'll make the world.
Yeah.
So singing Kumbaya.
Sing some
There we go.
Kumbaya, exactly.
Thinking of the Coke commercial from whatever year when everybody
Oh yeah.
Before you
like
guys
to
were
teach
born,
a world to sing, right?
Yeah.
And all of that. So how did you find music? Like how did you get into this?
Very similar to Colleen. I think it's something that I couldn't put an age on when I started enjoying it, and it's just something that I can't not do.
Right.
But bringing people to that realization that there's something to do, and there's something that's just indescribable, whatever the word you want to use. Music has that, and it can communicate so much, and so much more easily than words. And it's just.
So what do you think the difference is then? Why can the world and why can every parent understand the value and the need to put kids in sport? And that's not even a conversation. But the conversation around putting kids in arts or putting kids in music, that seems to be a whole different conversation. Why is it?
I mean, I'm sure there's lots of different reasons, but one that comes to mind for me, at least, is how in the spotlight sports is. Like everybody knows NHL, everybody knows CFL, like everybody knows those things. They're on TV all the time. And it's not that the performing arts aren't, it's just, it's less in pop culture, I guess. There's music and stuff, but it's always in the background. It's always in the background of commercials, or it's the score of a movie or whatever. You don't have musical celebrities as much as you have sports celebrities, I think. And like Hollywood is so much higher and more difficult to accomplish. I think sports is an easier celebrity status that you can go for. That's one thought
I
I
can
have.
see where you're saying that. I actually would take that a little bit further though, but I think it might be partially because we do have musical celebrities. Because there's this idea that anybody can play hockey. I mean, I played hockey. I'm
Right.
horrible. I played defense. But it's fun, and that
Right.
it's something everyone can do. People see music as elitist sometimes.
I think especially classical music.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
they're
Especially
not
the
good
Western.
enough.
Yeah,
that my
especially the
kid's
Western.
not talented.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put money into that because they don't always understand there's so many other benefits on top
Yeah.
of the ability to play music. But what's going on with the brain development, and there's so many things that are going on with neuroplasticity. And when you look at music, you see these superstars, these celebrities,
Right.
who are like, well, my kids can never be that. I mean, very few parents, I think, really expect their kid to be Gretzky. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But they can see, he grew up back rink, hometown kind of
Right.
guy. They don't see a lot of musicians necessarily coming from that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's the media chooses what the media chooses to
Yeah.
focus on.
Yeah.
And so when you don't see that all kids are musical, it's not that, oh, my kid's not musical, so they're not going in music. But you'll hear that for sport. My
Yeah.
kid's not athletic, so he's going to do these sports because he needs help in that area.
Right.
Well, kids who
Right.
are not musical, which is not true, they just need encouragement more.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a giftedness, just like anything is. I mean,
Yeah.
Howard Gardner theory of multiple intelligences, you can go through all that. It's one of them. But people see it as like, almost elitist.
Yeah.
And so, well, why bother? And it's so expensive. Well, it's surely no more expensive than any other sport or anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting. So if you look at hockey, no, you're not all going to get to the NHL, but you get to the AHL,
Right.
or you get to regional,
Yeah.
or you get to rec. There still somehow seems to be a value put to that in playing sport. So where do the non-professional musicians go? Where's the AHL? Where's the rec? Where's the regional? Where do they go? Beyond just being a student? Because for me, part of taking music is actually playing music. And that to me is the biggest deficiency in our whole world, is that we throw kids in rooms, we teach them to play, and then we don't do anything with that. We don't actually teach them how to work together. We don't teach them how to perform. We don't teach them to play with each other. Whereas sport, you can't really succeed without other people.
That's true.
Is that the problem? Is that...
Well, I think you get more of that working together when you get to band in school and choirs. That's when the communal stuff happens. And there are community band programs that you can go and join as an adult as well. A lot of those, they are an investment as well. So there's always the financial barrier as well. But I think more of that teamwork tends to come in band, but what do you do if you play piano and you don't really love the band instruments, but you still want to play with other people? Like that's where there seems to be a gap,
Yeah.
I think.
The net to catch those musicians is significantly smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what if you didn't take band in grade 7 and you've missed your point of entry
Yeah.
as well. That's
Yeah.
the other thing, because
That's true.
I actually started taking. I wasn't able to join band until high school because I didn't take band in grade 7. Started taking flute lessons and wasn't able to join on the instrument that I liked, so I chose to wait it out until high school. So there's kind of those points of entries that I think are missing as well for some of it, and also the diversity of experiences in terms of having like smaller string ensembles, chamber ensembles, like having the diversity so you can play on the instrument that you love and that speaks to you. Yeah.
So why is it you say you played hockey but you're good at it? Like what is stopping those in the world? Because anybody can pick up a glove and a ball or a stick and do whatever, and nobody bats an eye. What stops people from picking up an instrument?
I think sadly it's sometimes the teachers they had.
It can be.
Because
It can be, for sure.
there is the the tradition of the piano teacher guilt, right? Oh, you didn't practice.
Yeah.
Oh, oh no, it's got to be like this. It's got to be like this. And there's this idea sometimes that some teachers have of perfection. Nothing against perfection, but perfection can get in the way,
Absolutely.
because then you start thinking you're not good enough. I'm not good enough to get into that band. I'm not good enough to sing on stage. I'm not good enough. Well, why am I doing this? I'm not good enough. Which is the exact opposite of what music is meant to do. It's an expression of your soul. There's no such thing as not good enough. There's your choice on how far you can go based on your abilities. But having this idea that, oh, well, I could never do that, because you've been told so many times by your teachers, and all it takes sometimes is once.
Yeah.
I taught school for 20 plus years, and you have to be so careful about what you say. I remember things that my grade 3 teacher said to me, and it was off the cuff. She didn't mean anything,
Yeah.
but it sticks with you.
Yeah, it really does.
When it comes to sports, there's more of an openness in a lot of cases to just, whatever.
Go give it a try.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
fun. Run around.
And frankly, easier with band. I mean, I did band, I taught band for ages, and I remember even in university, band wasn't my thing, but I still joined the band. It wasn't my major instrument. Did I practice? Sorry, no. But I still went to rehearsals because it was fun.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a group.
Absolutely.
It's a group.
It was.
It's community, right? It's
And
building community.
when I wasn't good enough, I switched to percussion. Sorry.
Percussion's so hard.
I know it is. But for piano major, it isn't. Because you
Oh yeah, I guess you're
Comparison.
playing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
true.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I just terrified of the triangle. I am terrified of playing triangle.
It's the crash cymbals for me.
Yeah.
Terrified of triangle. There we go. So when are you good enough at music?
Always.
Yeah,
Always.
always.
There is never
Yeah.
a point
Well,
there's not a point that you become good enough. Are you willing to put yourself out there? Are you willing to make a sound on your instrument? Are you willing to buzz your lips and make a fart sound on the trumpet? Then you're good enough. Exactly.
Yeah.
And like what you said, like it rings so true, because I have students who I've taken from, not taken, that's the wrong term, who I have taken over from other
Yeah.
teachers. And one of my philosophies is, I want you to just play. I want you to play, and I want you to show me. I want you to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't care if you make the mistake right now, because that's what the whole point of the lesson is we can fix that. And I still have students, after years of teaching them, that hesitate with that concept of putting themselves out and being vulnerable and exposing the shortcomings that they have.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you have to make excuses. Vocalists, especially.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I have a cold.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Every singer has a cold.
yeah, constantly.
There is
Yeah.
not a singer who will perform who is healthy.
Yeah.
Ever.
So to get back to the original question, like when is it time to start playing an instrument? Can you hold the instrument up? Can you make a sound on it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be good. That's the time that you can start. If like even kids that can't even sit down for a half-hour class, there's ways around that. You can. I've marched around in a circle for half an hour playing the clarinet. 100%.
I don't sit still well for half an hour class either, and I've been doing this for years.
Well, we were just talking about that. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. I got to get up and move.
That's why I like the little guys.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, I think the idea of attaining perfection, I don't think there's a single performing musician
Yep.
in the world who would say that they have ever played anything perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think we're constantly striving to be better because that idea that we talk, like lifelong learners, like we're constantly learning and evolving and changing. And of course, I'm going to sound different at 50 than I did at 20 than I did at 5. But the idea of chasing perfection, like perfection doesn't
Ever
really
happen.
exist.
No, it doesn't.
Well, who determines it?
Well, exactly. I don't know. If
Right.
it's the notes on the page, then that's only half the story, right? Like
Yeah,
you were
like you were
saying
saying.
earlier, Colleen. It's about the expression. It's about bringing yourself to the music as well. So it's going to be different every time. Even when I play pieces now, every time I play it, it's different.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a slightly different mood or I've done something slightly differently. I want to play with something slightly differently. It's always going to change.
That's the joy of live music, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
Every time you play, you discover something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I
Well,
love
and that's
concerts.
why you do music is
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's more of a danger in this. You know, so this kind of pokes the stick at teachers. It's like, why aren't you doing a better job? You know, when I look at why is playing music in any way, being involved in music and loving music, just as common as every sport in the world? Well, I'm going to point to the teachers and I'm going to point to the parents and I'm going to say, you're doing a crappy job. Because if you were doing the same job, if our world was doing the same job for arts and for music as it was for sport and valuing it in that way, well, we shouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah. And
But so much of it for teachers becomes about them. And
Yeah.
this student reflects on me.
yeah.
Oh, okay. But it's their heart and their soul. And as you talk about, the notes are half the battle. You can get on stage and sing a pitch perfect song, but if you have no emotion and bore the crap out of the audience, I can flip on YouTube and watch a way better version.
Oh yeah.
Like, it really isn't there. And the point about supporting people, you know, and having teachers there, it's way easier to spot an injury in sport. And it's way easier to fix an injury in sport. You know, you talk about remembering a grade 3 teacher's words, you know, you guys about other feedback you've had. That stays with you. You can shut a student off from the arts and you will never know why. You will never know why they don't go back and they will just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, looking at what we do here and looking at why we're talking about this is like, how do we get better? How do we get better at this? Like, what do we need to do as a teaching community out there?
Music is really unique. I guess sports is sort of similar the same way because coaches, there are coaching courses and stuff that you have. I think there needs to be support for teachers to understand how education works. I mean, even education itself is a relatively new field, right? It's we've only really been studying how we learn for the last 100 years maybe. But music teaching, it's a tradition that's been passed down, like you've said, in people's homes, and if you had a great teacher, that's wonderful. You had a great role model. But if you were taught in a way that was potentially damaging to you as well, you carry those traditions on with you. And some people, you know, will go forward and they try to reject all of their own experiences. But I think teachers need support and to understand that it's okay to ask for help when you don't understand it.
That's one of the big things. I mean, I belong to a number of Facebook sites for professional development and stuff, but occasionally you'll feel like the new teacher will ask a question and you can almost hear the ridicule in the responses.
Yeah.
You know, how can you not know that?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and yet that's the whole point. And then people become fearful of asking for help.
That's true.
Because you get shut down even as a teacher.
Oh.
That and the assumption that just because you play an instrument means you can teach.
Yeah.
And coming back to where we started, you
Does
can be
not.
a wonderful performer and, I'm sorry, be a crappy teacher.
Yeah.
You can have a doctorate and have no business working with children.
Yeah.
So true.
Education, learning how to teach, is a whole other thing. And as I said at the beginning, I do believe that some of that is just the way we are, our creative. But it's scary when you think about it, because how do you pick a teacher then as a parent? How do you know? Well, just because they belong to, ARMTA or APTA or, a professional association doesn't necessarily mean, it should mean.
It should.
that
Yeah,
they have quality, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. And it's different because your child is unique. You need to find a teacher that matches that learning style. And if the teachers who are maybe watching have no idea what the learning styles are, oh dear.
Yeah.
You have
Ask.
to exactly.
Ask.
Go Google it.
Yes.
But
because
it's,
you can Google
but
it,
it's
yeah.
embarrassing, and I have found, we got into this. I'm a theater guy first. I'm a singer, which is often not seen as a musician. But this is all about telling stories. For me, this is about telling stories, and we no longer teach in the arts how to tell stories. We don't teach that playing music is telling a story. We don't teach that dancing is telling a story. Theater is easy because it normally has words, so you're a little clearer there. But yeah, how do we remove that stigma? And it's like the teachers out there that are looking at your peers and going, "Why don't you know this?" Smarten up. They need help, right? Like this is for you. This is for the world, and it's not for the teachers. This is for the students.
It is. Ultimately, yeah.
And
The reason people do this
got to be about the kids.
is to guide
And not kids, the students.
The
They
students.
don't have to be
Yeah.
kids.
Not at all, no.
Adults are fine.
any age. Like, what did you find going from more player to teacher? Because I think that's been more your evolution.
Yeah. The list is endless. One example definitely that comes to light coming here specifically is the training that I received in regards to child psychology. And like you mentioned it already, the neuroplasticity and the development and those early years of experience. I'd never experienced any of that. And as a performer, you don't need to know that.
Yeah.
No.
As a performer, you're just dealing with yourself. You get your instrument out, you play your thing, you go home, and if you get a paycheck, good job. But
Professional then.
professional, exactly.
You got
Otherwise,
paid for it. Congratulations.
bonus.
Too sad in itself.
It's sad in
Yes.
itself, yeah. But to come into the world of teaching, especially here, to understand that there is so much more, and it is so much more important as a teacher to be conscious of all of those little things. Not even just like the things that you say, but the way you say it.
Yep.
Like how do you say hello to a little kid? Like, learning to read the body language is something that I'm so thankful I have learned. It's incredible. I use it all the time now. But like you say hi to a kid and they're like, hi, they say hi, but they're not really saying hi. You can read their body language and you go, okay, you step back. And I've seen countless times parents go, wow, you really understand. Do you have kids of your own? No, I don't. I don't. But it's experience
You're a
and
teacher.
training. I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one example is the understanding of just how little kids' brains work. That's one big thing that stuck with me a lot.
Which is why some teachers are better with younger kids.
Yeah.
Some teachers are
Yeah.
better with older kids.
Yeah.
Some kids are, they're busy, they need to move. Well, you need a teacher who doesn't yell at them to sit still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frankly,
Yeah.
I
Well-
can't sit still.
Or they've gone
I'm just
or they've
waiting to
gone
see how much
past.
I've been moving around in the seat here. So we're gonna
Mental note next time, non-turning chair.
don't put Kelsey on the turning
all right.
chair.
Get the TIG welder up. Yeah.
No, but it's the beginning, and you find a lot of teachers, and the commoditization of arts education is at an all-time high. If I can hang out a shingle and I can teach and I can keep the kids, well, good for me. And I don't want to give up the kids because that means I might lose revenue.
Yeah.
But if the student, and not just kids, if the student of any age, and especially adults, would do better and are heading in a different direction or different instrument or whatever, get them with the right teacher.
Yeah. Let go.
That is only going to be the best reflection on you, I believe, as an educator, and do the best for the student.
Yeah.
So much. So let's just wrap up a couple quick words when we sum up why teach music.
Oh, you're coming to me first. Okay.
Nope, that was only a trick. I'm gonna go there first. See, it was good.
Because music makes everything better.
Hey, you know I'm wrapping up with that, and that totally blew that one now. And we're not editing, right?
No,
you know,
it's
so
not.
it's like, no. Why do you teach music?
I teach music because it has taught me so much, and I want to spread that love and give it back to people because I know how much of a better quality of life it's given me, how much I've learned from it. I love it. I want everyone to love it. That's why I teach
good.
it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Kelsey?
Yeah, I think music is my safe space. It's a place where I build community. It's where I express myself. It's always there for me, even when others aren't necessarily. And I want to pass that on to people. If music is going to be their special place, I want to give that gift to them and pass it on. And that's really, for me, that's why I do it.
Oh, Colleen?
A relationship. That's what it all comes down to. It's a relationship to the music. It's a relationship with your students. It's a relationship with the other people that you are performing with or making music with. Relationship. I have students who I started when they were 6 months old in the music pups classes, and they're with me 10 years later. We do life together. Mm-hmm. We need to do life together. Mm-hmm. That's the way life works. You can't be by yourself. You shouldn't be by yourself. You're all going to go crazy then. We've all been there close enough. One way or another. So just the relationship, and even with the students' parents, it's a way to do life together, and I can think of no better way to do it.
Well, it's a great wrap up. I wrote down together earlier, and
I did not see that because I cannot see that far.
Exactly. But I don't believe that we do. I don't believe that we do encourage this. I believe that we actually encourage music education in a lot of ways to happen individually. Mm-hmm. And that the idea of music education is sitting in a room with a person, and that's music education. It's one part of it. Mm-hmm. But, everything, having people love it, doing it together, it being a safe space. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're great. I don't care if you're a professional. Love it. Yeah. You might never play music again. I don't know why you would never, because you'll always go kick a ball and never question whether that's logical. But even if you don't, you can be a future funder or supporter or whatever it is. Like, that's what makes the world go round together. And so, it's been interesting. So we've just scratched the surface. It's easy to see how we can talk about a lot of this. So Together is actually going to lead us to our next podcast next week. We're going to dive into group music, which Music and Play actually built a foundation on. It's harder. It's been harder during COVID. Everything together in a group has been harder during COVID. But what is different about that? And what is special about that, and how do you need to look at that differently? So, for everybody out there, we'll see you next time. And as Harold already said, remember, music makes everything better. See you soon.